Hi all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Amira. If you are a new viewer, welcome, and if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. Today I wanted to do a video idea that I had been thinking about for a while and sort of compiling a little mental list, and then I noticed that Patty Alonso had done basically the exact same video, which is she talked about her favorite holiday palettes. For me, this is going to be a little bit different. It's kind of like winter slash holiday. I don't celebrate Christmas, so for me, when I look at palettes for this time of year, I really think about winter in general and not specifically holiday. So I compiled my little list. These are not in any particular order. It's just a list of palettes that I love to reach for during the winter months. Let's get it. Well, I'm gonna do this one first. So I mentioned this palette in my in a video recently, and I don't know if that video is up yet. It might be up before this one or after. But I talked about the ColourPop Rudolph release and how attracted I was to that color story because I love red eyeshadows, I love green, and it had a bunch of neutrals, and I just thought it was so pretty. And then I realized that I basically have that palette already, and it is in the oh, let me show you the cover first. The Give Me Glow Christmas Morning palette. Yes, this is a Christmas palette. I know I said I don't celebrate Christmas. I don't, but this is a Christmas palette. It's a Christmas themed palette, I'll put it that way. And this is the color story. I mean, it's basically that ColourPop palette in a more curated color story, and I actually prefer that. I mean, if you know, I don't, you know, the ColourPop one has like 5 browns, and like I don't need 5 browns. This gives you one transition brown, a dark brown, and then the rest are like, you know, you got your red matte, your metallic red. Very curated, and I love this palette. I slept on this palette for a really long time. I kept looking at it and really wanting it, and I just never purchased it. And so I wound up buying this, I think in late 2019, like Black Friday, Black Friday 2019 or 2020. It might have been 2020. Such a beautiful palette. And if you like these types of colors, just in general, I think this palette is beautiful. And I believe it was originally limited edition and it kept being sold out. And then I think the owner of Give Me Glow finally made the smart choice to make this a permanent palette. And I don't know if it's a year-round palette, but I do know it is a permanent palette, and it might be in stock now, but I'll leave a link below if, of course, if it is. But yes, I love this palette. And Give Me Glow honestly is probably one of my favorite formulas for metallics. I mean, the shimmer, look at that. It's just stunning. Their metallics are top notch. So for me, I love reaching for this palette this time of year, and I honestly don't reach for it any other time of year because I just feel like this is such a winter palette. Next up is a palette that I only recently purchased, maybe this past summer, and I had sort of gone back and forth about purchasing it because I don't tend to shop from this brand all that much, but I hadn't owned, up until this point I didn't own anything from this brand, and now I own 2 palettes from the brand, and that is the Huda Beauty Mercury Retrograde palette. What I love about this palette, and this was Huda's, I think it was her 2019 holiday release. What I love about this is the unexpected color story for winter. It's such a soft, pastel-y, you know, it doesn't have, you know, like this screams like winter, holiday, you know, coming to a theater near you. You know, it's very like in your face. This is very like, would you like some shimmers? Would you like some pinks? Some pastels? Beautiful. My gripe with this palette, and it's a gripe that I've know other people have with Huda Beauty palettes, and it's why I'm so reticent to purchase a lot of them. I only own 2. I own this and the Mini Jaguar palette. Is that a lot of these shades, even the neutral shades, lean purple. Like, this is a tan in the pan. Like, I don't know if you guys can see that. I may have to turn my lighting down a bit for you guys to see. Hold on. Let me turn my lighting down a bit. Okay, so you see how this looks like a beautiful tan? Turn it back up. I don't know if you can see that. On the skin, it's purple. And I don't know if the light is picking that up, but on my skin tone, this is like a pink purple. So yes, as much as and honestly, I really love this mostly for the shimmers. The shimmers are stunning, but the mattes they're not bad quality. It's just that for me, when I'm using this palette, I often have to, like even this Karma shade comes up as like a brown, but it's actually kind of like a peachy orange. When I'm using this, I kind of have to keep that in mind, that the shades that I think they are aren't what they actually are, and I have to sort of adjust my idea of what I want to do accordingly. But I still enjoy it. I still enjoy using this palette, and the metallics are beautiful, and I think it's such a fun, different color story for winter season. I believe this is on sale, guys. I got mine half off. I did not pay the $67 for this. I'm gonna be real. I'm gonna be 100 with you guys. I do not think that Huda's quality matches her price point. I know, gauntlet thrown. You know, I'm sure I'm gonna get some comments, but that's just how I feel. This is my opinion, and as the meme goes. But yeah, I think this is a nice palette, and for me, if I'm purchasing Huda, I like to purchase Huda on sale. When it comes to full size, I would buy her stuff on sale, and I believe this is only 33 bucks on Sephora right now. So if you're interested, now would be a good time to get it because it's on sale. Also, another sort of different color story for winter that I only recently purchased, and oh my gosh, this palette is so dirty. One, because I've been using it, and two, because this brand they're known for their fallout. They're the OG formula anyway, is the Anasazi Beverly Hills Norvina. I literally just picked this up, guys. Like, recently. I picked it up during the Ulta 21 Days of Beauty sale in September or August. When was it? August? Late August, September? I think it was September. I just picked this up, and I got it because it was half off, and I was like, I've been curious. I have been seeing, you know, I told myself I didn't need this palette. I'm like, I don't want it. I don't need it. Whatever. It's not really my jam. Those are my colors. And then I kept seeing people do looks with this palette on Instagram, and I'd always go, oh my God, her eyeshadow's so pretty. What palette is that? And then it'd be like, Norvina. I'd be like, well, shit. I guess I need it. So I got it on half. I got it for like 22 bucks. Still. But guys, this palette, I didn't know. It's so pretty. I have had such a good time using this palette. These shimmers, I mean, this rose gold shade, I mean, it's so pretty. All of these shades are so pretty, and every look I've done with this palette, I have loved, and it's one of those palettes that when I open it up to use it, I get excited about it, and I feel like that is a key clue that a palette is, you know, it's worth owning if you get excited when you use it, and it's not just like sitting there and you're kind of like indifferent to it. I really enjoy and get excited to use this. And I am working, just so you guys know, because I know I've talked about it this is just an aside. I've talked about it a bit in a couple videos, and I know in comments people have asked me to do it. I am working on a duping the vibes video for Huda's Rose Quartz palette, and there are shades in this palette that are doopity doops. If you have, I'm just gonna let you in on a secret. Still watch the video when I post it because there's gonna be other things in it. But if you have this one and this one, you pretty much have that Rose Quartz palette. I'm just saying, if you have this already and you don't have this one and it's on sale at Sephora, buy this one. You got Rose Quartz. Oh almost pretty much, with the exception of maybe 2 shades, maybe 3. Alrighty, moving on from that little aside. Next up is, and I have the, oh my god, my fingerprints are all, it's so hard to keep these things looking pretty. I should have wiped it off, but literally this is just for me like taking it out of the thingy and moving it around, and that's how like grubby it's gotten. But this is the Pat McGrath, I'm gonna keep blinding you guys. This is the Pat McGrath Mothership for Decadence. Look at those shades. Look at them. I know. You don't have to say anything. I know. This palette, you guys. Okay, this used to be my favorite Pat McGrath palette. If you saw my palette ranking, you know this comes in number 2. And the only reason that it's at number 2 is because it was knocked out of the top spot by Subliminal, which is my baby, my boo. And my top three, if you haven't seen that video, are this palette, Subliminal, and Midnight Sun. Those are my top 3. But this one was my baby for a while. And it's all metallics, but if you know anything about Pat McGrath metallics, you know that her metallics, you can use them like satins. Like I have used, a lot of people are intimidated by this palette because it's only metallics, and I'm like, I'm gonna need to dip into something else. I can't create a cohesive look. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Let me show you how silky these are. You can take these shades because her metallics are so dimensional and so silky and so blendable. You can take this palette, take one shade, yo, one shade. Like this metallic-y shade that's on my finger, I've done just to look with this, just this shade. You can take that one shade, you can blend it out, and you can do a dimensional look with just that one shade, and it will look, depending on what brush you use, if you go on with a fluffy brush, it will look like a satin, and then you go on with a packing brush and it'll look like a metallic, and it will look like you have 2 to 3 shades on your eyeball. Okay, so yeah, this is a very usable palette. You just have to be a little brave. You have to be willing to take the chance on an unknown kid, you know what I'm saying, in the words of Clueless. So yes, this is a palette that I reach for a ton in the winter. I like to use it on its own, but I also pair it with another palette, which I will talk about now. And I just want to say this, guys. I know the trend on YouTube is to not talk about limited edition makeup that is no longer available because people feel that audiences don't want to hear about things that they can't purchase. My feeling is this. If you're watching this video, you're probably a makeup lover like myself. So in all actuality, you probably own some of this stuff already, or you've already made the conscious choice not to, or you just want to hear about it, you know? And I don't like the idea of pretending that a whole part of my collection doesn't exist, because it does. And I spent money on it and I use it and I enjoy it, and I don't want to like omit it from the conversation because it's limited edition. So I'm not saying that all of the makeup you see on this channel will be limited edition stuff that you can't get anymore. But when I'm creating and curating lists like this, if there are things in my collection that I actually genuinely use and want to talk about, I'm going to talk about them. And I hope that you guys get that. And I feel like that's not unreasonable. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm also not only just like doing YouTube, I'm also a makeup consumer. So it doesn't make sense to me to pretend like my makeup doesn't exist. That being said, there are discontinued limited edition things on this list, and this is one of them. So like I said, this you can still get. Decadence is still available. It used to be a limited edition. It is not anymore. She came to her senses. Mother Pat came to her senses, and now this is no longer limited edition. I don't want to blind you guys. So this palette, right? My favorites are the blues and the reds in this palette. I mean, I love every color those are in this palette, but those are the ones that, like, when I open it up, I'm like, yeah. If you want to pair this with a palette, if you own this palette, and you may or you may not, and this is a palette that I know people obsess over, It is the Melt Muerte Palette. This is one of my favorite winter palettes. This is one of my favorite palettes in general. And I like to pair these mattes with those metallics to create a masterpiece. Now, I'm going to give you an alternative to this palette right now. Hold, Paula. Muerte, my baby. One of my favorite palettes ever. I love you. You're beautiful. You're stunning. You're stunning, girl. Love this palette. Love to pair it with my Decadence. These two are like besties. If you do not have Muerte, this was at one time a limited edition palette too, and I believe they came to their senses and re-released it, because when I bought mine, it was after they had said, no, we will never be releasing that again. And then they were like, psych. Beauty Bay Wilderness palette. Do you see? Do you see it? Do you see what I'm talking about? Do you see it? This quality is not going to be melt quality. It's not. I would say the quality is decent. I wouldn't say it's amazing. I would say it's decent. But I just wanted to give you guys a quick, now that I've talked about Muerte and how it's one of my faves, give you an option if you don't have it, of something that can work and function quite similarly, because it has, the matte reds and the matte blues, and it has these, greeny tones and, the light metallic. Although this metallic is more like a greeny shift, and then this one is a matte. But you can use them interchangeably, I believe. That's just a quick alternative to Muerte. And the reason why I'm not including this in this list is that I haven't used this enough to know if it's a fave. I will say I purchased 2 Beauty Bay palettes in October, which was this one and the Age of Opulence. And so far between the two, spoiler alert, I'm enjoying Age of Opulence more, just quality wise. But yes, this is an option, an alternative if you don't have Muerte. I just wanted to put that out there just to, not be a jerk about it and be like, oh, she's so pretty. I still wanted to mention her because I love her, but I also wanted to give you guys an alternative. Okay, back on track. Let's just get the limited edition stuff, discontinued stuff out of the way. So the next up is Sultry from ABH. And this is a palette that I talked a lot of shit about. And I was like, this is the thing. Like I've said this before, and it's true. I talk a lot of shit about makeup, guys. And sometimes I talk shit about palettes that I then wind up purchasing and loving. It's happened so many times that to this point, it's been kind of like a running joke for me, like a personal joke. Like, oh, you hate that palette, I'm sure you're going to own it in like 4 months. This is what happened with Sultry. I talked shit about it after seeing it online. I was like, just like I did with Soft Glam. I saw it online. I was like, oh my God, so boring. Why do we need this on the market? Ooh. And then I went to the makeup show and I saw this palette in person and I swatched it. And I said, oh my Lord, Lord, the T at the end. What is this beauty? What is this stunner? What is this? This palette is so beautiful. And what I love about it is the cool tones with the warm tones. I will say this, I never reached for this pop of orange, this bloom shade. Like, I feel like they looked at this color story without it and were like, it's too boring. We need something else. Let's throw a coral in there. I've never used that shade, guys. I have no desire to. I don't think it's a bad shade. I'm just like, when I'm reaching for this palette, I'm not reaching to use a coral, But for me, this has my favorite silver. And I don't really love silver eyeshadow, silver metallic. This has my favorite silver in it. It's like molten, melted silver. And I just feel like you can create cool toned, winter leaning, natural eyes. And then you can pop in these really high impact metallics and get a beautiful, beautiful look. So for me, this is something that once the weather turns cold, I find myself reaching for a ton. I don't reach for it a lot in the, you know, summer or spring. And I just want to say, I'm not somebody who believes in seasonal makeup. I believe all makeup is all year round. You can wear whatever you want, whenever you want. But for me, I just know that there's certain times of the year where I'm drawn to certain colors more than others, you know? And cool tones are always my jam, but they're especially my jam in the winter. And this is just sort of like, for me, the ultimate like cool tone palette. And then another palette, which I think this is a limited edition palette. I'll have to check. But this is, I mean, you can call this a Christmas palette. I mean, it's beautiful. This is the Linda Hallberg, or LH Cosmetics, I believe it's called now. Metallic Mysteries 2 palette. Guys, look at these shades. First of all, the embossing on this. How beautiful is that embossing? It's so pretty. But these shades, okay, there's very few brands that I feel like have Pat McGrath level shades. But this shade Collision, if this shade Collision is like a Pat McGrath special shade, this one, it's insane. These shades here, I will say about the red and the brown, these shades, they look very metallic-y in the pan, but they're really more of a satin. So I would say if this kind of freaks you out, like a quad of like shimmers, don't be freaked out. These are really just satins, and that's really the most high impact shade, is that shade Collision. This is just a pretty palette, and I don't reach for it as much as I do maybe Christmas Morning, which kind of has a similar color story. But I love using this as sort of like a companion palette for other palettes in the winter time. Just dipping in, especially this Collision shade. I've done looks where I've just done this all over my eye with a red lip and a wing. Fierce. So pretty. And then finally, what I would definitely refer to as the pièce de résistance of this little compilation of palettes, and my favorite Natasha Denona palette of all time, and that is Metropolis. This palette, I mean, what more do you need for winter? Look at all these shades. What more do you need for winter? You have your dark rich shades, you've got your red metallics, you've got your greens, you've got your golds, and then you've got your neutrals. You've got everything you need in this little baby. It's such a stunning palette. I just, to this day, this palette excites me when I open it up. It's one of those palettes that just, I find very inspiring, and I don't reach for it a lot in the summer, but come winter time, it's like top of the list. Top of the list. I'm gonna add this just as an honorable mention. I use this in the winter, and I've created some really pretty winter looks with it. But I haven't used it in a while. I haven't reached for it in a while, but I still want to talk about it because I think it's really pretty, and I think the color story is actually really perfect for winter. And that is the Magic Mini by Juvia's Place. And this is the color story. How pretty is that? But reason why I wanted to talk about this is these last two rows of shades. I have created such beautiful winter looks with this palette. I mean, this palette has some of my favorite blues and greens in it. This color Vi, I don't have this color anywhere else in my collection. Like anywhere else. The tone of it is so specific. It's got like a grayish undertone to it. I don't have anything else like that, like anything. And I love reaching for this palette for that shade. I love reaching for it for the shade Yara and Ife and Aja and Yumojo. Yumojo is so pretty. And what I like about this is that you can do those really like icy blue eyes, you know, that probably you may not want to wear in spring, but works really well for winter time. And yeah, I mean, all of the shades in this palette are beautiful, but even this little icy like purpley tone, so pretty. So yeah, this is sort of an honorable mention because like I said, I haven't reached for it recently, but I'm looking at it now and I'm like, I should use this. sometime this week. Because she party. She really is party. I mean, this navy blue, it's just so pretty. So yes, this is an honorable mention of favorite winter palettes. All right, guys, that is my chaotic list. I feel like that's the theme here whenever I'm doing lists of things. It's just going to be chaotic, you know? It's just going to be like everything everywhere. Tell me what you think about these palettes. Do you own any of them? What are some of your favorite winter palettes? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.